everyone. Happy Sunday. Lovely to see you all. We are on I think, a special day, 222. Doing this masterclass, and when I planned them, I did not even think of the symbolism of the days. So, hello, hello. We're going to give it a moment for ladies to gather and to join us. And while we're gathering, I am curious if you can put in the chat who is here completely new to me and never attended anything that I'm doing. And put two if you attended my master classes or been in my programs. And we are having a juicy topic today. Uh, what turns love into cage? We're gonna talk and we're gonna reflect on it through different lenses. Who is new to me? I see some ones in the chat. Welcome. So, my name is Maya Kova. I am sensuality and love coach. I've been practicing for the past 7 years, but I consider myself um, student on the path of conscious loving since I was 20. And I always say that I was initiated into this work when my mom gave me a book, Women Who Love Too Much. And that started my journey on realizing that there is so much more to love and relationship than just falling in love and meeting someone. And I always wanted to learn from a more deeper perspective to the secret, the formula, what actually creates long-term, truly thriving relationships where we feel understood, where we have harmony, when everyone feels seen and loved, and how we consciously deal with conflict, how we showing up for ourselves and for our partners as well. So all of that was an important part for me to understand how these dynamics are working. And that brought me on the path today to support women in learning and educating themselves how to build consciously a relationship and show up as a woman in a relationship, which means I'm not disappearing in a relationship. I'm not losing connection with myself. And what I've learned is that we need to educate ourselves first and foremost. We need to understand what is our feminine nature, which is a massive part of my work that I do, and also understand how men are different and know how to behave and play in those dynamics and show up consciously and prepared. Because a lot of conflict in relationships, they are happening because we don't see each other as a separate, different human being. And often we project the same needs, the same reaction onto one another, and that creates a lot of misunderstandings. And misunderstandings is what actually rotten then the foundation of a relationship and makes us to shut down. And when we shut down, we obviously not available for the authentic connection. And today, our topic is exactly about that, of how unintentionally we turn relationship into a cage for ourselves and for our partners, for men as well. So we're going to look at it from two different angles and go deep into understanding psychology of relationships, energetics behind it, and all those interesting and juicy things. I'm also right now offering to join my Love Goddess Experience program that starts on March 9th. And I will also talk about the program here. And there's a special offer that you can join the program right now. So that will be shared in this masterclass as well. And you have an opportunity to join the program. So let's dive in. And while I will be sharing, please put your comments in the chat if you have any questions, any ahas, or any things that are coming up. I will be checking on the chat as well. We have about hour and a half. Fingers crossed that we will be able to cover everything in 1 hour and a half. I'm the one who is recorded. I'm the one who's spotlighted. So if you want to ask a question, you can use the feature in the reactions area and raise your hand, and then only your voice will be heard. Or you can ask your question in the chat. You can also message me privately if that's needed as well. Okay, so let's dive in. So, first of all, I want to start by talking what is this metaphor of the cage? And I'm curious what cage represents for you, because you obviously joined this masterclass, and I'm assuming that this topic interests you in one way or another. So, what is cage for you? How have you maybe experienced this metaphor of a cage in your previous relationships? So, I will be curious to hear from you. Controlling, limited. Yep, we're gonna talk a lot about this. Roles, like different roles. If you can say a little bit more, that would be great. What else? So for me, when I was getting ready for this masterclass and was choosing it as a topic, put in a box with certain expectations. Yes, that's a very good one. Expectations, oof, playing definitely a big significant role in all of this. And to me, cage also represents suffocation, where right, it's not enough breathing space. It's kind of tight. It's contracting. It's not freeing, right? It's very tense. So that is for me what cage is. Um, I haven't really thought of it as a cage, and I definitely don't want to create and be in one. Yes, right, because relationships, we want to have our freedom to be in a relationship. And the commitment that we're making for relationship on both end, from your end and from your partner's end, we want that to be from will, right? From the desire versus fear or obligation. Because when we do things from fear and obligation, we shut down, our bodies shut down. We actually not available for connection. So even if you in the same space with a person who's not available for connection, can you connect with them? No, impossible, not going to work. So, for us, for women, some of you mentioned control, right? Why do we control relationship? And I'm sure you can relate to this phenomenon that you are getting in a relationship, you're meeting someone, at the beginning you're excited, but you have your freedom, you feel great, and then the moment things starts getting more and more and more and more and more serious, something happens in your body, right? Your nervous system goes on, right? And it's like danger, 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 or alert, alert, alert. So, why do we want to control? I'm curious. You can put in the chat your thoughts and your ideas. Why do we control? Why do we go there? Create a sense of stability. Yes. Yes, thank you. That's such a great one. It's an illusion, right? We control because we think that I can predict the outcome. And if I can predict the outcome, maybe I can relax. But we all know that the more we control, the more anxious actually we become. Create a sense of stability to unconsciously feel safe. Safety. Yes, safety. Bingo. Right? We want safety. So, in the Love Goddess Experience program, we talk about foundational needs that we as women have in a relationship. And we'll also talk about foundational needs that men have in a relationship. And we talk about it in detail. But today on the call, I want to highlight that it is our need in a relationship, right? This is how our nervous system wired. It's not something that you can actually control or change. You need closeness. And you bond through closeness. You sometimes regulate your nervous system and how you feel through closeness. But it's not a need for a man. So for us, when we start feeling good and our hormone starts kicked in, right? Dopamine and oxytocin. I want more of that. Plus, I want go deeper into getting to know the person and trusting them. And trust is something that builds through time. Right, Boris, for women, closeness is kind of like that key ingredient because I trust, right? My trust grows depending on the experiences that we share, depending on the amount of time we spending, depending on how open and available you are to me. So what I want you to understand is that that desire for spending more time or having more stability or having more clarity, right? Or having more security in terms of knowing, right, like where things go, how we relate, what is it that he's available for? All of that, it's part of how we wired. So there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. But when we unconscious of this, when we are not right, where we just being led by our emotions and by our reactivity, then it's actually playing against us versus helping us. So when we know that, okay, I need closeness and closeness make me feel more safe in the world, make me feel more happier, make me feel more regulated, right? That's okay. There's nothing wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with my childhood. There's nothing wrong with my attachment or anything else, right? I don't need to find a big trauma. It's just I'm a woman and closeness is important to me, right? Think of it like we go to the bathroom with girlfriends. Have you ever seen men going to the bathroom with their friends, with their dudes, bunch of dudes going to a bathroom together? No, they don't do that, right? We can spend an hour talking about the same thing or discussing a show or a dress or anything, right? We need that. Plus, I heard, I don't know how scientifically true that is, that women we need to say out loud like 20,000, no, probably more like 20, 100,000 words. Anyway, and men needs to say 7,000. So we have like a huge difference in the, right, in the amount of like self-expression. What's important here to understand is one man, no matter how great he is, how relationship oriented he is, will never be able to fulfill your vastness for closeness. So when we just take this out and we understand that he will never be as available for everything I want to do as I need, that then gives us a reality to work with. And what it means is that you need to build your juicy, delicious, feminine life, which is your hobbies, your girlfriends, your family, right? You need to have your system where the need for closeness you can go and fulfill. Um, right? Like what's left from what it is that he is not capable of. But very often we looked at man through the lenses that if he is not talking to me as frequently as it was at the beginning, and why that happens, that's a pure biology and hormones. At the beginning, everything is new. There is excitement, there is newness, there is something unpredictable. Then, with time, you're getting to know each other. So things are logically getting predictable. So there is less of excitement and there is less of this desire to, let me showcase, let me conquer her, let me do something for her. And what we also need to understand about male psychology is that they fall in love and bond when they actually feel your absence. So it's completely different what it is for us for women. So for us for women, we bond through closeness. The more time I spend with you, the more I feel connected. For them, it's different. They have a great time with you, but then they need to digest that. And then they need to have some space to actually notice your absence and to actually notice, like, I really miss her and her old ideas or her, right, like her creativity or her unpredictability. Like they need to have some space to actually feel your importance and your significance. What we do, and this is like a number one killer of attraction, polarity, and even potentially moving relationship to the next level, that we start when things are, getting a little bit less intense and he's not as actively texting or communicating or offering anything. What is it, our number one strategy that we do? What is it that we do? You can put in the chat. Yeah, this. I see the embodiment of it. We start adding more connection. We start being more active because we're using our logic. Now go after him. Yes, we go after him. Why are we doing this? Because that's what would feel good to me. So we're using our logic, we're applying it onto them. And what happens for them? They feel cornered. They feel suffocated. Because for men, what they value the most and one of their biggest fear when it comes to relationship is losing their freedom. And we're going to talk on the call more about the freedom and what that is for them in a moment. But when we start, first of all, nobody likes to be pressured. Do you like to be pressured? Like, if you would have a guy who would text you all the time, offer you everything all the time, be available all the time, how would you feel? You would also kind of start feeling like, oh God, I need some space, I need some air. So it doesn't feel good to anyone. And usually, when we do that, there's also an energy of fear and energy of grasping. Right? And that energy of grasping in fear, it almost feels like, like a hidden agenda, like a little bit of, it's not that you need or want me, it's you need something else, but you're not actually naming that. And some people are more sensitive to that. There are some men who are more attuned to energy. There are some men who are more sensitive. So that's will be definitely additional turn on because that just feels like somebody's trying to get under your skin, and that doesn't feel attractive. So, in that case, what we also need to understand that one of our superpower as women is to learning and mastering the art of balancing, where you intuitively know when to end the conversation first, right? And not waiting for him to say, okay, I'm tired, I'm gonna go to bed. The same when to end the date first, right? Or if you're spending a lot of time together, when to be like, you know what? I need to go to my space. I need to go take care of my things, right? We need to start feeling, and usually you would get some clues because he might start shutting down or pulling away. So that would be your clue to actually not come to him with conversations, why you're shutting down, why you're not talking to me, right? But actually leave him alone and shift your attention and go do something fun that feeds your need for closeness with different people, right? Because we cannot fulfill our need for closeness with one man, way too much responsibility for him. Or even with our kids, right? Because everybody, like, balance in connection and communication, in my opinion, it's one of the most important skill set and knowledge that we can master, because then we becoming more attuned and people actually appreciate that. And we always give people opportunity to miss us and actually value us more. So when we zoom out and look at this dynamic, we go into control out of fear that he's pulling away, out of fear that I will lose him. And then we use this unconscious form of control. Because it's not like we're sitting there, and thinking how to do that. It's just unconscious reaction. We do what we know would work for me or what would feel good for me. And also, very important thing to understand about psychology. We pull away and stop talking with someone. We withhold our warmth and connection when? When do we do that? We do that when there's a problem. It's a form of like punishment, right? It's a form of like letting somebody know that something happened in a relationship and I'm gonna be less available and less active, right? That's the logic that we use because communication connection is a reward. It's like everything's great. And if I'm not talking to you, it means this is a major problem. So we immediately apply that logic. If he's not talking to me, it must be because there is a problem, which is very different for them. They need their time to chill, right? They have 24-hour cycle. And during that 24-hour cycle in a day, right, their energy and their availability for connection and their testosterone also fluctuate. So, right, at the end of the day, they might be less active, and that's nothing to do about you. Also, they are very, right, their attention is like more arrow, more sharp. So when they work on one thing, they really like, it's like they turn on different part of their brain. And in a way, they kind of like shut down their heart and that like emotional part of themselves. And they're really doing whatever it is that they need to do with work or with any other projects, which is again different for us because we always have connection to heart, right? Because it's kind of like what makes me a woman. How come you're not in a heart? If you're not in a heart, oh my God, we have a major problem, which is completely different reality for them. They like, no, I'm just functioning, I'm just doing my things. So when they not necessarily in constant communication with you every single day, every single minute, it's not necessarily any indication for them. And a lot of men also for them not to be in contact with you, it's a form of self-regulation. They give themselves time and space to digest, right? Because they slow. I use the metaphor, I say that men are like turtles when it comes to emotions and connection, right? If we are like the fastest, I don't know, who is the fastest horse or I'm not curious. I need to Google who's the fastest animal, right? When it comes to emotional closeness. If we are that, they are the opposite. They're very slow. So they need time and space to digest. And when we understand that, then it helps us to not create stories. Because a woman who is reacts and right, her nervous system is running by her worries, and then you go unconsciously into control, and then you start chasing him, right? And pulling on that connection again unconsciously because you're following your ideas about connection. Um, that right, like it's like absolutely chaotic, no strategy, creating more problems versus actually supporting the relationship and showing up as a woman. Because when we talk about showing up as a woman in a relationship, what is important piece to understand is I am bringing my superpower as a woman, and I have access to my superpower as a woman when I am regulated. So when I'm emotional and reactive, and if I don't have self-awareness, if I don't know those differences that we have, right? If I'm just following my patterns, then I'm actually not bringing me as a woman into a relationship. And then we start having a dynamic where I'm, as a woman, always in crisis. There's always something's happening for me, and he needs to come in to self-regulate me or to help me to stabilize or to reassure me all the time. And that dynamic puts you in a minus because you constantly need something from him. It put him in a plus. And when we get stuck in those roles, right, where he's more important, more unattainable, more busy, more not, right, not available, and I need this more all the time, this is not a sexy roles. When we're stuck in them for a long time, it kills eros, and it creates a lot of separation. And in a way, you start seeing him, right, as somebody who is mean because he doesn't understand your needs. And he starts seeing you as somebody who is always unhappy, always complaining, always dissatisfied. And that's not a very pleasant image, obviously. Um, and also, when we are always disappointed in men, what they hear on a primal level is, I suck as a man. Something's wrong with me. And not all of them have enough emotional intelligence and skills to sit down and unpack that and have an honest conversation with you. What would happen unconsciously for them, they would go into this feeling of shame. Something's wrong with me. And when something's wrong with me, I feel bad about myself. What do I do when I feel bad about myself? I shut down. I pull away. So that actually reinforces the cycle versus helping it. Okay, so the cycle that we establishing with how we unconsciously turn a relationship into a cage is it starts with fear that something's wrong. I'm gonna lose him. I'm gonna lose a relationship. Then we go into control. Then control leads to suffocation. Suffocation leads to distance. Right? And that's a very unpleasant pattern to be. How is this landing so far? Like, is it familiar pattern? Have we all been there? Yeah. Yeah. Do you guys see how those unconscious things play out? Yeah. Yeah. Been there plenty. Yes. Yeah. 100%. And right, all of this is self-compassion and also understanding very important thing that I wanted to say is we been many of us we've been conditioned to find our meaning, right? Like I fulfill my whole existence, right? The meaning to my existence through relationship. When I was a little girl, I had a phrase. When I grew up, I go outside because I always wanted to go outside and I didn't want it to wait from, my parents or whoever, like, my aunts and whatever. So I always wanted to go outside and have freedom, go whenever I want and not wait for them. So that was a big deal. So in my head is when I grow up, I'll have my freedom. I go outside and I go get married. Like that was like the thing, right? I was 3 or 4 years old. So what we can see is I unconsciously, like a sponge, learned that. And I don't know about you and how you grew up, but there is a lot of cues and those, right, like symbolic ideas that we're getting from Disney, from fairy tales, from a lot of movies, that your fulfillment and realization as a woman will happen when you have a relationship. Or another one, you will be the best version of yourself. You will be the most feminine. You will be desirable when you have a man. So as long as he desires me, as long as he likes me and he pursues me, I'm okay. The moment he's not doing that, oh my God, a major disaster, something's wrong. I'm being, right, like canceled. It's like my existence is being threatened. So when we have that baggage, right, when we have that unconscious programming and thought patterns, of course, they impact our behaviors invisibly, right? And that's why it's not even about chasing that particular man or feeling heartbreak if he's not choosing me. There is a much bigger reason underneath. It threatens my existence. It signals that I'm lacking something, something's wrong with me, I'm not okay. And that, right, because it hits your survival. If I'm bad, if I'm unlovable, if something's wrong with me, right, it's much harder for me to survive. So it's very unconscious. And that's why those unconscious fear kicks in even harder. And it also can be, right, your attachment. If you have anxious attachment, that also will play out, that closeness in general actually feels uneasy for your system because there is a history of, right, I've been abandoned. I did not get a response when I needed. And I have a whole Q&A that I recently did on attachment styles. It is available as a bonus within the Love Goddess Experience program. It's available there right now, so you can go and watch it there. Um, so just wanted to say that a lot of those things and the way we act and we're conditioned to act in a relationship and we chase relationship is not necessarily because I'm, madly in love with this particular person, or he's my destiny. It's because it literally hits our survival and our self-image and how we experience ourselves. And unfortunately, right, this is a kind of fucked up system in construction because if I feel good about myself when I get validation from the outside, then of course it's going to put me in control to constantly controlling will I get that validation tomorrow, right? Do we see the connection? How it actually plays against us big time? And when we unpack that, it's just beliefs that we never questioned. We observed them like a sponge, and it became our unconscious foundation and what runs our life. And it doesn't have to be that. And in a Love Goddess Experience program, we have a whole module where we work with your beliefs. And I use different positive psychology tools to kind of look at your beliefs from a different standpoint, and examining them on a deeper level, not just identifying the belief, but also understanding what is the history behind the belief. And the whole program created with the intention to give you new identity, because one of the things why personal growth and like even accommodating a lot of knowledge, or even knowing your bad beliefs and knowing your good beliefs, and it's like, well, why it's not working, why I'm still repeating those patterns. It's the law of energy, right? The empty space cannot exist, right? Like you cannot just take your old belief and your old identity and throw it away. You need to have a new one to have, right? The new one to observe, a new one to step into. So your nervous system and your brain is smart because they understand I can't just get rid of that, no matter how painful that was. If I don't have anything new to follow, if I don't have any new template that I actually see that's working and gives me the results to step into. So I created the Love Goddess Experience program with the intention to give women like all the wide palette of different ways to understand you as a woman, understand your own psyche, how we wired, and also understand men, and then know, right, like how you claim your own identity as a woman, and that identity stays with you when you go into relationship. So your identity as a woman, your gifts as a woman, the way you carry yourself is no longer dependent on his mood and his availability. You actually know how to communicate with him when those things happen. So you also know how to handle conflicts. You also know how to deliver what it is that you need in a way that he can hear it. And more importantly, you also know how to fulfill his needs in a relationship. Because often we fulfill their needs from what I need. They do the same. They fulfill our needs from what it is that they need, and that's a typical thing in couples, right? When they say he doesn't hear me, she doesn't see me, because we not understanding those differences about ourselves. And in my opinion, that's one of the most important and foundational principles in relationships. So I want to go a little bit deeper and say which behaviors that we do unconsciously start creating the experience for of suffocation for them. So the first one, and it's a very kind of hidden, is when we start sharing with him more and more and more of our problems. Whoever experienced that, who can recognize themselves in it? That you share with him and tell him me about my problems, right? Like in the morning, he texts me, "Hey, good morning," and I'm telling him, "Oh my God, I slept so bad," right? Instead of like sending a sexy photo of yourself, right, or something else, we immediately like, "Oh, this is not working, and that's not working, and everything is so complicated." Okay, I see your answers in the chat. Thank you, ladies. Yeah, Why do we do that? Again, right? Our brain, our mind is having a strategy. So, what is the strategy are we using? The strategy is that, again, after the first phase of relationships, right, where we excited about each other and everything is yummy and delicious, when right things are starts coming down, or maybe you've been in a long-term relationship, right, and things are no longer as exciting. Maybe there's a lot like a pile of resentment and a bunch of other things. And we do not get closeness, even the minimum closeness that we need from him. And we have emotional closeness, we have intellectual closeness, we have physical closeness, right? So if none of those really happening, we don't have like really honest, juicy, exciting talks, we don't share experiences together, our intimacy is not as hot as exciting as it was. I'm starving as a woman. Even if I have my girlfriends and my other activities, in our relationship, we don't have closeness. So alert, right? Something's off. Then what you learned is when you have a problem, you get a response from him. So it's like, okay, so I'm going to use my problems as an opportunity to compensate for closeness because in that way, he will respond. And then there is a hope that that would warm up our connection more and more. Now, yes, right? Like your mind is sneaky, but right. Man loves to be needed. And yes, that makes them feel good, but it will not gonna work when it's every day. When it's every day you're having a crisis. Every day you need something. Every day you need his support. Because then what it does energetically, it starts training him that there is this experience of some kind of heaviness around you. And every time he tries to be in connection with you or any interaction, it's about something heavy and serious and something that's needed of him. And yes, being needed is great, but again, everything is in moderation. Like I would say that the art of conscious relation is moderation. We really need to learn balance as women because we are in right, relationship is our domain. It's great to have a partner who educates themselves on masculinity and relationship dynamics, and like they would never dedicate as much their time and attention to relationship as we do. So it's important for us, right, to educate ourselves about that. So when right like when I use sharing about my problems as the only way to have connection, it's already indication of the problem, right? That the connection is not there, and then there's needed a conversation not about your problems, but a conversation about like what's going on between the two of you. But be aware, right, that when you do that, he will be helping you and supporting you, but then eventually he would understand that pattern. And because it creates this field of heaviness, right? Like it's in your field. It's not necessarily verbal, but he can feel it energetically. And that is repelling. Because lightness, your ability to shift into your creativity and lightness and jokes and highlight something for him, appreciate something for him, right? Do something unpredictable. Like that gives to him something that he cannot access in his masculine world. So when that is not available, but instead of that, there is, right, your problems, your challenges all the time. And I'm not saying that you don't bring him problems, like, right? Like, let's not go into severe contrast. Everything in moderation, right? But in this case, what I'm bringing your attention to, and believe me, I done that too. When the atmosphere and dynamic in my relationship goes down, it's like unconsciously, it's like, well, let me bring more problems to pull him back in. And that doesn't work that way. Are we clear about that? Okay, good. So, um, the second one is when you track him, when you right? Being way too much into his schedule. What is he's doing? Why he's not calling? Where did he go? When you ask literally those questions, like, what are you doing? Who are you meeting? When are you coming back? Or I don't know, you're texting him during a lunch break and you're thinking like he should answer me immediately because it's lunch and he shouldn't be busy and he's not answering. And then you start creating a story why he's not answering. So when you go into that policing mode, and let's say you're not even saying that out loud to him, but there's like a lot of messages from you with kind of like a little bit of like this hidden monitoring. Again, that feels as a heavy energy, and he starts feeling cornered and he starts feeling controlled. But more importantly, what does it tell to you when you do that? If I have my time to study my partner's schedule, to know everything that he's doing, or needing to know everything that he's doing, deciding for him when he should have free time to connect with me, to answer me, to spend time with me. What does it tell about me? That two things. Number one, I have way too much free time, right? I have way too much free time because if I live my life, if I have my interests, my projects, my creativity, my workouts, my girlfriends, what I call the feminine throne, which is a whole module in the program where we learn how you build your solid foundation. So you don't have to go into this roles of being a spy, checking his social media when he was online all the time. And I'm not saying never do it. I mean, come on. We've all been there. There are moments where we do that. Let's not be like I've never done that or I will never will. Right? But when it's turning into a pattern, right? It's number one, you shifting into the energy of chaser and pursuer all the time. And then there is this unconscious message, I need this more. You are more important than me and my life. And don't forget, men are hunters. They like to have a little bit of this feeling of a challenge. That's why when we create space, that's why when we're not available to them all the time, then there is space for them to come back and pursue us. And there is also space for them to miss us. And when they miss us, it inspires them to take action and to understand how important it is for him to have you in his life. Right? Um, So one, right, number one is you have way too much free time, right? Your feminine throne, you're not sitting on your feminine throne, right? You are on the floor outside of your feminine throne, which doesn't help to create attraction and also doesn't help you to feel great about yourself. Right? And so the number one is you don't have you have way too much of a free time. And number two, he is a center of your life. So instead of your life, your identity, your interest, all of that is right now him. He's becoming the only source of the dopamine, oxytocin, joy, and everything else in life. And when he becomes that, it's not only pressuring him, but it makes you even more anxious. Why? Because if he's the only source that your life and your identity and your feeling good is standing on, you know unconsciously that if something happens and he's not available, he's not there, what will happen to you? You will crumble, you will collapse. And that's uncomfortable feelings. And we want to avoid that feeling, right? So that's why we control more, we do more, right? We're looking for reassurance. I need to know your schedule so then I can exhale, right? And all of those things. So the remedy is when you notice you do that, is ask yourself, okay, what are other exciting things going on in my life? And can I pull my attention away from him and direct it to other areas of my life? So he immediately feels my substance, my fullness as a woman, and my juiciness, my aliveness, my Shakti, and that is attracting to him. How all of this so far landing? Any questions in the chat? Let me see. What do you suggest for ending the date or phone call first? Say the date is roughly an hour or so, and at a X time. How to gauge to be the first to close the connection? Um, I would say it's two things. It at the beginning, it can be just, being mindful when you're especially noticing the feeling in you that like, I don't want this to end. When you immediately go into kind of like, the grasping, notice that, relax, let yourself actually enjoy the connection. Because when you're grasping, you're actually not available to enjoy it. Let your system to take it in so you can feel full. And I'm not saying to do it all the time, right? But don't be in a position where he's the one that he ends everything first. And especially when you had, like, let's say, a weekend or several days of a great, super juicy close experience, be the one who's like, going to my girlfriend's, I'm going home, I'm going to do this, I need to do my Pilates, right? Like, remove yourself first. Don't wait for him to shut down and start feeling overfed. So that's right. Like, this is not a game. This is more of attunement and understanding how the energy work. Because the worst thing you can do for a man is like overfeed him with yourself and keep overheating him where he's like pulling away. It's like, I cannot have this cake anymore. And you're like, no, but look how pretty that is. Right? Like that, we want to avoid that because that leaves a very bad taste for them. And it's not that they are necessarily avoidant. It's again, it's like their biology and how they interact. But yes, those tendencies and those dynamics can definitely reinforce the avoidant behaviors in them to pull away. Because again, if they don't have enough emotional intelligence to explain this, or to have an honest conversation, they're just going to keep shutting down more and more and more and more and more. And it's going to activate in you pursue, 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 pursue more. So the easiest thing to break the cycle is to take your attention away from him. Remind yourself that you're the queen. He's a man. He's absolutely capable to pursue you. And I just need to give him enough space and redirect your attention to your full life. I think I gave too much cake. We all guilty of that. To giving them too much cake and then continue shoveling it into them, right? When they like, I need a break. And then we're getting, right? Then our feelings are getting hurt. Then we're coming to them with a conversation. We need to have a serious conversation about our relationships because your behavior hurts my feelings, right? And when we see right now from his lenses, it's like, I just need a little bit air. Now I'm bad for needing a little bit more air. Now I feel awful about my, right? Like we kind of in a way unconsciously contributing into very awful cycle where both people feeling that they are losing. And it's like, I cannot win here, no matter what I do. So that's why learning psychology of relating and understanding those dynamics are so crucially important. And I think actually it's a good segue for me to talk about the Love Goddess Experience program. And then we're going to continue with the other three ways of how we create a cage for the relationship, in a relationship. So I'm going to put a link in the chat here for the Love Goddess Experience program. It is open for enrollment right now. The program starts on March 9th. And the way the program design is you're going to have modules released every Monday. And you also have 4 live calls where we're going to work with your mindset and beliefs. We're going to work on your relationship dynamics, and you're going to get a coaching, hot seat coaching from me on your particular unique dynamic. We're going to have a whole other call on how you work with desires and how you actually manifest the things in your life that you want, how to, right, train your body and your mind to be in that receptive state. And the final call in the program that we're going to have is celebration and coronation. You're all going to get yourself a crown, and we're going to do a beautiful ritual to coronate yourself as a symbol and as a ritual of completing this deep transformative 3-month journey. So what makes this program unique is, number one, it's 20 years of my personal and professional experience. And what creates transformation is that you're not just learning things, but through learning, a lot of them are like your homework will be experiential, because we um, try new identities and new behaviors through experiences. We never change behavior just because I read it in a book and now I'm going to be doing this, right? Like we need a confirmation in the body from the experience. So that's why the program calls Love Goddess Experience. And the structure is that it's kind of like 3 blocks. The first block is feminine state. What is feminine energy? How you cultivate your state, understanding your emotions, understanding how to work with, right, like with your internal life and how to understand yourself as a woman. The feminine throne method, right? It's my method of 4 legs that actually holds you and holds your identity, um, and working with your mindset. How do you see yourself as a woman? How do you see love? How do you see man? Because all of that garbage n- impacts how we keep showing up. So we need to clear all of that, right? And put new different things to do into practice. So that's the first month. Then the second month, we going deep on the relationships, the psychology of relating. When we talk about women's needs in relationship, men's needs in relationship, you're gonna have a beautiful Q&A with a panel of 5 men from different walks of life, who answered incredible, the most typical questions from, is it a turn off for a guy if we're gonna have sex on a first date? To like, what does safety mean for a man, or how they provide safety for a woman? So like, even watching that, it's on its own, it's unbelievable experience, because it shows you um, in a way different template for masculinity, how men show up, and target a lot of myths that we have about men and their care, their access to heart. We also going to have that assessment of your relationship dynamics when you're going to bring your situations. And then the third month, we are talking about your Shakti, your creative and sexual energy. So we're going to have a whole lesson on sexuality and sensuality. We're going to have a whole lesson of desire, how to stay connected to your desire, how to cultivate the juiciness and abundance within yourself, and some other great practices. And then the final coronation and celebration call. So that is the structure of the program. And right now, you have a special offer to join it. I'm offering you 3 different tiers. The one that's like a classic one, when you do the replays, where you do modules and live calls, it calls practice. And with that, you will have a whole access to all the modules and working directly with me on the group calls. There is also a mentorship tier where you get 3 one-on-one sessions with me if you want to go deeper into your particular dynamics, your patterns, your traumas, your history, and get like much deeper look and reflections and coaching and guidance on how to break it and how to deal with that. And if you don't want to do live calls for whatever reason, you're kind of private person, you just want to get access to the information, there is a foundation tier that is available for you to join. And payment plan is available for practice and for mentorship tiers as well. And right now you have a special offer that gives you additional discount to join. I believe it's $749 for the practice if you pay pay in full, and there's a payment plan. And for the mentorship, I believe it's 1,800. So, what I also want to say about the program that when you truly lean in and do all the practices and all the homework, oh, we're going to have a Telegram group. So, even if you're getting foundation, it doesn't mean that you're just getting online course and I never hear from you. You're joining the Telegram group, and every Monday the new module released, and we're gonna have a homework thread. We also gonna have some prizes for those who do their homework and share what happened and what it is that they did and how they show up for themselves. Because the program designed to target one of the biggest blind spot that we as women have, putting ourselves last. I don't have time. This is too much. I'm not available. This is to this, to that. Right. So when you have the intensive to do your homework, right, obviously you start training yourself, finding time for yourself, prioritizing yourself, letting everybody else know that, hey, I'm doing my homework, I'm doing my thing, I'm not available, and taking up more space. Because when you take up more space and when you actually take care of how you feel and how you treat yourself, it's like a domino effect. It is going to be reflected in men, how they show up and how they treat you, and in anybody else and in any other area of your life, right? The more full and the more bold and the more self-express you are, it's like you are more visible for the universe and for life. So that's why being part of a Telegram group is very, very important. And because we're all on the phone all the time. So instead of scrolling, you can write down one or two sentences about your homework, right? Or you can record a voice note for 1 or 2 minutes. And that also gives all of us opportunity to inspire one another, right? Because if I'm having a bad day and I don't want to do homework, but somebody shares about their great experience, oh, they also having a bad day. It's like, right? And exhale. And I truly believe that as women, we amplify one another. So, this Telegram group, the space for our connection between the Monday modules and the live calls are extremely, extremely important. So the link for the program in the chat, if you are interested. Telegram group is not open yet. It will be open 1 week before. So beginning of March, it will open and you will start sharing and introducing yourself and creating this nice and yummy space. So the link is in the chat. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me. And congrats, Christina. I'm so great you are in. Okay, let's go back to our topic and how we um, create cage. So the third thing is control through care. When we step into the role of nurturer, the role of a mother, um, and this is right, like this can be sometimes very hard to track because in general, when I'm bonding with someone, my nurturing nature kicks in. I do want to do nice things. I do want to take care. I do want to offer all of those small things, small details that I see. But what happened with man and our relationships, right, is we need to again measure and everything in moderation. Because let's say when it comes to a household, if I'm taking care of everything because it's my nurturing nature and because I know better, I can do it better. I like my way. What it does, right? You start taking up all that space with good intentions. I can do it faster. I can do it better. I know how to do it. When I'm doing this, I feel like I'm taking care of you. This is my love language. But what it does, you're taking up all that space, and then there's no space for him to show up. No space for him to show up. And he's not going to fight for that space necessarily. And in the Love Goddess Experience program, we talk about this concept of um, transferring responsibility. And we need to learn as women, when we with men, to transfer responsibility to them for the things that's important. Because that also gives opportunity for them to show up and invest their time, effort, and attention into us, into the life, into the experiences that we're building. Right? And if women, we bond through closeness and emotional connection, they bond through service. They bond through what it is that they can do for you, for us, for the life that you're building. So if your caregiving, caretaking nature takes up all the space out of love, a typical cliche that in all the sitcoms, right, is a husband or a partner who what? Who does nothing. And then you have a fat case to complain how he's not involved and engaged. Does that sound familiar? Have we all been there? Here and there? Have we? Yeah. Yeah. So, right? Again, we need to see when my care turns into control. And it's either I think if I love him up so much and do everything for him, he will stay and he will love me. It's not going to happen because he doesn't have space to actually do things for you. Right? So that's a false logic. Or you do it just because I know better. Right? I know better and I don't want to give up my authority. Or it's important for me to be right. Or I'm more faster or I'm more efficient or whatever. So you kind of need to again pull away and zoom out and measure and see what is where it's okay and where you start again overgiving, overtaking. And of course, we talked about it at the beginning. Sometimes control can feel like safety, but it doesn't inspire bonding. I always give this example of my grandma who would ask my grandpa to fix something and then would stand next to him and tell everything that he's doing wrong. And of course, he didn't want it to come home. He worked like till the day he died, right? Because he constantly wanted to be outside the house where he was appreciated and where he had space to do something for people. And this is an extreme example, but right, if you would have a conversation with my grandma, she would say that she cares. She just wants him to do it better. And it's like we kind of need to measure and see which fights and which adjustments are really necessary. If it's his area of fixing something or when he's driving, just let him drive the way he wants, fix it the way he wants. Like it's his area, right? Like this is his manhood. So let him do that. Like do not fight for authority with him in those domains that he claims as his territory, right? You would not like that. You would not feel that good. Not if he would come, I don't know, to whatever it is important to you in your house or in your territory and tell you that this is wrong and this needs, right? Like you would immediately feel like, hello, you violating my space. So they feel the same. And men are very sensitive to their space. And this is where our care sometimes blinds us because I'm coming with a positive, intentions. And we start reorganizing their desk with their papers in the way we think would be great to reorganize. And then he comes home and he has like heart attack that you moved his stuff and he cannot find it and he had his own logic. But it's not only that. What will trigger him even more is that his space and him as a person was disrespected. He would read it as disrespect in big capital letters. And when he feels disrespected, shuts him down. And for some men, it can be a pretty big and fat deal breaker. they might not be able to fully recover from that. So if you want to fix something for him in his space, ask. And if he say no, don't fight. Like I remember, I was traveling with my partner, and we were like moving a lot from like place to place. So we were packing and unpacking like almost every 2, 3 days. And I saw how he was packing. And I saw that he had a certain space, and I have mine, blah, blah, blah. And I was, tired and unconscious, and I kind of like start, telling him like, hey, you can put it there, you can do it that way. And he snipped at me. He's like, don't tell me how to pack my suitcase. And there was a moment where I'm like, oh, but I wanted to help, but it's in my head. And then light bulb came up, and I'm like, oh, yeah, this is his suitcase. He can pack it in whatever way he wants. It is his freaking territory. And this is not right now about my feelings. Like he has rights to have his space and do it the way he wanted. Right? And we're both kind of tired and exhausted. So I just dropped it by simply remembering that my care here is not needed. And it's not doing good for anyone. And it's actually not defining our relationship or whether we love each other. Right? So start noticing those small things. And especially if you live together, absolutely give him freedom to have things and do things in his space the way he wants. Because the worst thing you can do for any human, but especially for a man, is to start telling him that his way is a wrong way of doing something. And let me change and let me fix you. He feels disrespected. And respect in our Q&A with men that you will watch in a program, they all said that respect is a deal breaker for them. That they would not stay in a relationship with a woman, no matter how much they like her, they love her, and all the history, if they constantly feel disrespected. And care, this intrusive care, it's usually one of the number one, absolutely unconscious way, the way we disrespect men. And this is invisible because you know that you're not doing it with intention to disrespect him. You're doing it out of love, right? You're doing it because I want to be helpful, because this is a better way, because I know this better. And if it's so important to you, ask, hey, I know something. This is my area of expertise. Would you be open to hearing it? I check in with him, give him a space to make a decision and say yes or no. Sounds good? Awesome. Okay, so the next one, uh, fighting over small things. And what I mean here is, of course, there are areas of miscommunication. There's areas like there are important things where you also feel, right, like your character feels violated, or your space, or your freedom, or your self-expression, and all the other things, right? Like in that case, when it comes to big, significant challenges, we want to absolutely have a conversation about that. And there's a particular way, the way we do it. Right? It's not done when we are emotional and when we are irritated and where there's a pile of resentment, and I'm just coming and like dropping all of those arrows on him. What I mean about small things is the casual day-to-day things, or when we already have resentment because our core needs were not fulfilled for a long time, and we start communicating you never or you always, right? When our complaints, our dissatisfaction sounds like a sentence. Because when we say those phrases, you never or you always, um, we immediately like corner the person. And what happens to them? They go into defensiveness. And then they're not available for connection. It fulfills your belief that they are not showing up for you. And we just reinforcing and building a much, 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 much bigger problem. Usually we do that when like the health of relationship, the all three levels of connection, emotional, intellectual, and physical, have not been fulfilled for a long time. And then that leads right to those snippiness and irritability, and we use it as a form to, like, then those fights become the only form of connection. Those fights becomes the only form of confirming that he still cares. If he reacts, he still cares. But we can all see that this is very unhealthy way of doing a relationship and very unhealthy way of relating, right? So when that happens, when you feel those irritations and you start having a lot of dissatisfaction and complaints, that's a sign that, okay, there's something deeper going on here. And I guarantee you, like 100%, that your needs in a relationship have not been fulfilled. And that's why you feel that way. So there is an opportunity to go and reflect what are those things, and then do your emotional release practices so you can dump the charge, not onto him, outside of him, on your own, and then come have a conversation about your needs. And I teach how to do that. There is a masterclass available for you if you're joining right now, Love Goddess Experience program. You have bonuses, you have pre-game modules, but you also have bonuses of all the master classes and Q&A. And there is one on communication and how to asking for what you need. And there is a template how we approach those conversations with men, because when we bring them our emotional charge, and when we have this 20 minutes monologue, and then we ask at the end, did you get it? He will say, I get it, just to end the conversation and get out of this, right? And that's not a resolution. So, what I also want to say that for men, if you ask them what it is that they crave in a relationship the most, outside of attraction, polarity, sex, and their needs being fulfilled in a relationship, is peace. And when, right, like when there's a lot of small fights and small things that we shifting into being on an opposite sides versus turning it into a joke, letting it go, right? Like being playful, uh, adding some kind of a mystery in a relationship or some excitement, that infuses this experience of lightness that he feels when he's around you. And that to them is something truly priceless. Because as aggressive as they can be in a relationship, and that also their aggression happens when their needs in a relationship are not fulfilled. And that's why we talk about it in a program, because it's important for us to know that what are their needs, because cooking and cleaning for him, this is not his need in a relationship. And that's why that's not scratching that. So when their needs are not fulfilled, then when you ask them for stuff, they can get more defensive and more aggressive and more not available. So when we shut down, right, and we're not kind to each other, it's usually an indication that our base, our foundation in this relationship is not being fulfilled. And when we trying to, right, resolve those small conflicts, they're like a tip of the iceberg, but that they actually not a real reason why that is happening. So if you just feel depleted, go right and take care of whatever it is that you need to take care, and take a time off, take a day off, right? Like you don't have to be available all the time. You can say that I'm not available tonight. I'm taking care of me. All right, so take care of your side, identify what it is for you, and also understand how to deal with him. Because if you see that he's always irritable and not available, the indication is that his base is not being fulfilled him here. And the moment you start doing that for him, and it's a process, it's not going to happen overnight, but he would respond to that so much faster, because they don't actually hold grudges, or they don't overanalyze emotions and dynamics, right? The way we are doing it, just because our palette for feelings and nuances is so much wider than theirs. So they usually, it's easier to bring them back into connection when their needs are fulfilled, versus when it is for us. Because, right, for us, for women, we first need to fix the emotional closeness, and emotional closeness takes time and takes action from their side. With them, it's a little bit more easier. How does this landing so far? Any questions or comments? Let me see what's in the chat. Okay. Mhm. So I have a couple more minutes to actually answer any of your questions. Anything that you would like to ask or to clarify or to share more of. And to bring topic to the close, as we can see that one of the biggest clash that starts creating this cage dynamic is when our need for closeness and their need for space crashes. So when we understand the paradox, and when we understand that we can fix this by simply understanding the differences, then it doesn't have to be the cage. We don't have to control. And we also don't have to take them needing their space too personal. And this was the hardest thing for me to learn, because I couldn't believe that. I couldn't believe that. And by doing all this work and learning all these tools and then experiencing it, because we learn through experience. Learning through experience is the fastest way to break your patterns. So when I saw that when I create more space, then my partner comes in with that desire that was at the beginning of a relationship and how great it feels. I grew capacity for my nervous system not to be in contact that much, not to be worried that much, not to take it personally, not to dramatize it. And the more I am in my life, the more I'm on my feminine throne, it like on its own organically stabilizes the polarity in a relationship, because he's not judged, he's not criticized, there is more space. And then I'm receiving exactly what I need from a woman, which is his desire. Because I learned that when I manipulate and when I push for connection and, do all those unconscious things that we do to get the connection, and he's not coming to connection with his desire, it doesn't feel good. When I go on a date with him that I have to fight for, doesn't feel good, versus when he has his desire and I could feel that he misses me, and that feels good and delicious. So that is that. Let me see chat. So after dates, let the man initiate the follow-up to stay in our feminine throne and see how they show up for us. Yes. And right, like it's again everything in moderation. Don't be in a position where you never text him or you never invite him or you never right, show your interest in him, because they also want to be desired. They liked to be desired. But in moderation, if you usually initiate, take a break. Give him a couple days to come up. Again, they are turtles. He might not text you the same day. He might text you in 3 days, in 5 days, but he'll show up. Like, trust in his timing and trust that you are the queen, right? You are so valuable, you're so significant. He cannot outsource you. And this is what we do in a program. We're learning, like, right, like this new identity where I'm not deflating anytime I'm not getting attention. I'm shining. I'm learning to shine like a sun. Um So yeah, in moderation, but definitely give him also space to come to you. And another thing, don't answer to him right away. Because and also, right, if he texts you like shortly and you sending him like five long messages, you know, moderation. Shorten it a little bit. Give him some short answers, right? Or he's asking you something, don't answer right away. Go for your Pilates class, go to your workout, go for a walk, right? Like send him a photo of like, oh, this is what I was doing. Like give him an opportunity to wonder like, why she's not answering? What is she doing? But it's not a manipulation, right? It's coming from a thing of spaciousness, how I am creating spaciousness for him versus overtaking it and controlling because I don't trust. I don't trust that he's mature enough, that he's man enough, or I think he doesn't know how to pursue me. They all know. They have instincts like they all know. We just in our modern dating structure, um we as women being overly active because we also have so much more access to our masculine expression that we continue running it in a relationship. But we need to turn it off. Um, you mentioned that a woman's domain, that a woman's domain is relationship. What is a man's domain? The man's domain is like this driven force. If you have a vision as a woman, he comes in to implement it. That's his domain. His domain is to implement your desire. I always say that women, we lead in a relationship with desire. That's why we have the whole modules on desires. And we're talking how important it is for you to stay connected to your desires to right like working on this muscle, this energetic muscle within yourself where you have desires and you're sharing your vision, you express it, you have this zest for life. Because look at guys, like how often they change their wardrobe, like once in 5 years, 10 years. How often we change our wardrobe, right? Like if we were not being driven force, they would be sitting in the same apartment in the same pair of jeans for the next 80 years, right? Like we bring life into their life. So if I'm not connected to my desires, am I afraid to want things? Am I afraid to ask him for things? Then he cannot step into his domain to implement it. And by implementing it, it can be provision, right? Planning, finding resources, using his masculine logic to build systems in place, do his research, right? So that would be his domain in a relationship. Great question. Thank you. Anything else? Any other questions? If there's not no questions, I want to hear what was your biggest takeaway from this time that we spent together, from this masterclass? What was the aha, and what is something that you will be implementing or adjusting? Thank you. So many things learned. Have my own life and not give advice. Yes. Again, in moderation, you can ask him, right, if he need advice, but when he comes with the problems, don't, you know, um, awesome. Filling my cup, releasing and being genuinely lighter, not making him source of joy. Yes, 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 yes. That's like this one on its own is life changing. Will change your relationship dynamics and how you feel in your body, which is the most important thing because they respond to how we feel and you cannot hide. Like in my relationship when I was 27, I was dating somebody and I was not feeling so good about myself. And he was much older, and I kind of like was intimidated a little bit by his like success and fancy job and all of that stuff. And I would like act, because I'm an actress also. So I would act lightness and fun. But guys, they still feel it. Because, right, it's like you feel, it's like the scent that comes with you. They unintentionally, they would feel that. So for us, genuinely building our juicy lives where we feel great in our body is non-negotiable, is the number one thing that then changes the relationship. This is kind of like a paradox. When you shift as a woman, they will shift and respond. How things that women want in relationships are different from men, and this education you're giving us is so helpful. My absolute pleasure. That's why I am doing this, because we don't get this, and then it's just creating so much heartache. Continue giving more spaciousness and to trust his timing. Love that. That's a beautiful one. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining. It was so great to spend this beautiful afternoon on 222 with you. Have a wonderful rest of your Sunday. And I will see you at some other events or masterclasses or at the Love Goddess Experience program. Thank you, everyone. Bye.